I cannot wait to drag Chris Ballard in about 5 seconds here.
I'm so, and you know what? The Twitter, I'm sorry, the X streets,
Twitter. Mama named it Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter. So anyway,
formerly known as Twitter, have been dragging him relentlessly. But I don't understand what he's saying, because he's like, did it affect Andrew Luck? And the answer is a resounding yes, it did. Like, you didn't think that answer through very well when you responded. So I was so confused. I mean, how many injuries did he go through? What reason does he think that Andrew Luck ended his career? I just really, truly am perplexed by his response.
So this is a little complex, right? Because in terms of a running back, did it, shorten Andrew Luck's growth in terms of his career? No. And here's why. Andrew Luck and Anthony Richardson are completely different quarterbacks. Andrew Luck was one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks I have ever seen come out of college personally and go to the NFL. Anthony Richardson, on the other hand, has a ceiling that's extremely high, but is not pro-ready as of yet. He relies a lot on his legs. He relies a lot on play action to do the things that he needs to do, which means that you need to have a good running back to do that. So to compare Anthony Richardson to Andrew Luck is malpractice within itself, simply because they're not even the same type of quarterback, and they didn't come out of college as the same type of quarterback. One was considered a generational guy off the bat. One is considered a guy that has a lot of potential, but is not yet where a franchise would need them to be, but they cannot let him get away because the potential is just too high. The problem that I have with his comment, though, is that, okay, so you can sit here and say a running back didn't hinder Andrew Luck's growth, but you know what did hinder Andrew Luck's growth? An offensive line, because he ain't have that. And that's the reason why he retired early, because he was tired of getting beat down to the ground like he was every Sunday. So it's nice of you to sit here and try to make apples and oranges fit in the same box, in which they can't. But there were other reasons why Andrew Luck's growth was hindering. It's because you didn't build a wall in front of him to allow him to be the quarterback that you wanted him to be. But again, Anthony Richardson is not Andrew Luck. He needs Jonathan Taylor. He's going to need him to execute the play action to allow him to pass downfield, because you know what? If you watch game tape at Florida, that's what you would have noticed that they were successful in doing. And so for him to say that is disingenuous. It's a lie, amongst other things. And this is why coach speak, GM speak is just, you got to take things with a grain of salt. Of course, he's going to try to say those things. But if you know these guys, these quarterbacks specifically, you know that the proof is in the pudding, and that Anthony Richardson is not Andrew Luck in that regard at all.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was just being a little defiant, he was being bombarded with a lot of questions. There was a lot on Jonathan Taylor, why the decision was made. And then it moved to how is this going to affect, Anthony Richardson. And I think he was just a little like, maybe not flustered, but I think it was just like a little like defiant. Like, we know what we're doing. We make our decisions. And so they're not great decisions. But to be determined. But yeah, I mean, there was so much fallout from this Jonathan Taylor. I mean, we've been talking about him all week, and he's not going to be available for the first 4 games of the season, right? He's remains on the right. And so how do you think that will just impact them early in the season and impact Anthony Richardson just for those initial 4 games, And then also just with him not playing, because then when he gets back, it's like, is he going to be ready to just go even when he does get back? So I'm wondering, it still feels like overall there's going to be ramifications for their season and for their newly named quarterback.
I mean, obviously, there are going to be some struggles in that regard, because as I already said, Anthony Richardson relies a lot on play action to be successful. I'm not saying that he can't be successful, just straight up throwing passes, called passes. But a lot of his success comes from play action because he himself can run. And so you have defenders that are concerned about that as well. And so it's going to be an issue in terms of, well, Jonathan Taylor is one of their best players. You know what I mean? And it just so happens to be the guy that is one of their best players that is not going to be playing for the first 4 weeks is the guy that Anthony Richardson probably would have relied on the most based on the way that he plays football. So that's the issue there. Then you bring up the fact that, okay, well, he hasn't played. He came to training camp. I think that he went with the team for the first preseason game. And then after that, is when he was excused from the team and we didn't hear from him. And then the trade requests started coming in. So now there's a situation of him getting back physically, him getting back emotionally, him getting back mentally. All of those things are coming into play because this is a guy that feels like his value is the franchise doesn't see his value and that he believes that he needs to be paid as such. And so now you got to go to work for the people that don't value you, in your opinion. And so you feel like you wonder, how is that going to affect the way that he plays once he finally gets back on the field? And how long is it going to take for him to knock the rust off? Those are the biggest concerns here. I mean, the Colts ironically are in a bad division that Jacksonville should handedly win. And then so they're not necessarily playing for any type of playoff spot. They're not going to be that good. So I guess you're like, okay, these are the growing pains, but wouldn't you like to have your quarterback have a guy like Jonathan Taylor, a surefire insurance policy that can help you move the chains, be on the field, and help him deal with the stress of being a rookie quarterback, being put in the position that he's in? I just don't understand what's going on with any of this. Just pay the man some money that he's worth, or at least somewhere close to what he's worth. Because I promise you, if you do that, everything goes away. It's all semantics at this point. Just pay the man the money. He deserves it.
Right. Well, you've been saying all along that the Colts never really wanted to trade him. It doesn't seem like they were dealing in good faith anyway. They did not come to the table with clean hands because they're saying that they don't, Irsay made all these comments. Running backs, blah, 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 blah. They, doesn't basically value them that highly. But then the asking price was quite high for Jonathan Taylor. So you either value him or you don't. I know this organization has a history with running backs anyway, and how they treat them and pay them. So, it's unfortunate for him,
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.